I need the next slide. So what is belief? Belief is simply the I am positive I can do it attitude. That's it. That's all you have to do is believe you can do it. And that attitude generates the power, the skill, the energy that's needed to do whatever it is you believe you can do. And when you believe I can do it, then the how to do it comes naturally. You probably have to do a little thinking, but you're not going to be sitting around going, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do it. Just calm down, relax, and believe it, and it will happen. Everything that once seemed impossible, but that somehow has gotten done in this world, started with someone's belief that they could do it, right? Nothing gets done unless somebody believes they can do it. So think about the first person who figured out how to blast through a mountain to build a highway. Don't you think people thought that person was crazy? What do you mean you're going to blast a hole right through this mountain? Are you nuts? Well, that person thought about it, said, I think I can do it, and figured out how to blast through a mountain. That's pretty cool. But a lot of people thought that was definitely impossible, but someone had that belief, got it done. Think about the first people who said, golly gee, wouldn't it be great if we could go explore space? Who thought that first? I want to be those people. I'd love to meet those people. I'm sure they're deceased by now. But anyway, someone had the belief that it could be done, that we could actually send people into space. And for those of us now, my generation and younger, that's like, no big deal. No big deal. It's just space. But back then, can you imagine what that was like? So the difference between people who reach great success and those who don't comes down to belief. Those people who reach their goals truly, truly believe they can do it. And once they have that strong belief, their mind goes to work figuring out how to do it, and they're successful. Those that merely hope to reach their goals rarely do. How many of you think that if you said, okay, well, I'm going to give it a try, but I don't think it's really going to work. How many of you do you think that that attitude would result in success? Nobody, right? Of course not. That produces failure, the opposite of success. If I was like, Wendy, I could never be a lender. This is not going to work. But if I said, oh my gosh, you are such a great private lender. Can I come learn from you? That's what gets success, right? So compare that to the person who's facing the same obstacle, whatever that is, and says, you know what? I don't know yet how it can be done, but I am 100% positive that it can be done, and I will figure it out. See those two different personalities? What a difference that is, and who's likely to get it done? Disbelief is a negative power. And when the mind disbelieves or doubts something, it attracts reasons to support that disbelief. Doubt, disbelief, the subconscious will to fail, the not really wanting to succeed, the fear of succeeding, all of those things are responsible for most failures. Belief in success is the one basic, absolutely essential ingredient that you find that is common among successful people. By the way, there's another benefit to belief, not just for you, but when you believe in yourself, it shows. I mean, not just getting it done, but it shows. And that belief in yourself makes others believe in you, right? And when others believe in you, they have confidence in you. They're more willing to do deals with you. They're more willing to encourage and support you because you believe in yourself. Remember that movie with Tom Cruise, Help Me to Help You Make the Money? What was with the Renee Zellweger? What was that movie? Jerry Maguire, thank you. Yes, help me to help you. Well, if you believe in yourself, that helps other people to believe in you as well. So many people have an uphill battle in that belief department. We've been conditioned, whether it's by families or society or friends who are jealous or whatever it is, to play small, right? People have been conditioned to play small. We've been made to feel that we are different than those people who dream big. They somehow ate the special sauce. I don't know what they did, but somehow they ate something we didn't, and they get to think big and we don't. We have naysayers, and naysayers have made us doubt ourselves, right? So how do we learn to truly believe in ourselves, ignore the naysayers? How do we believe in ourselves and our abilities to reach bigger and better goals? Constant improvement. How do we do that? Is this going to work? Yay, look at that. So Henry Ford said it well when he said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I love that quote. To me, that is super, super powerful. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. If you believe in yourself, you will move forward. If you sell yourself short, you will hold yourself back. It's just that simple. And David Schwartz, who wrote the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, describes it as two voices in your head. Mr. Defeat and Mr. Triumph. And by the way, when I use Mr. and Mr. and Mr. when I'm quoting David Schwartz, it's because this book was written in like the early 1950s, And women were never in the workforce or investors or anything else. So he uses the male gender for everything. But Mr. Defeat and Mr. Triumph, these voices are the managers that are in charge of the thought production in your mind, right? So picture these two managers at your head of production in your mind. They're both incredibly obedient managers. They snap to attention at the slightest beck and call. If the signal is positive, Mr. Triumph goes to work. And if the signal is negative, Mr. Defeat will go to work. So let's try an example of this. And you can do this in your head, or you can do it out loud, I don't care. But what happens if you tell yourself, today is a really lousy day? If you just wake up and say, you know, today's just a really lousy day. Well, that thought summons Mr. Defeat, who's going to start going to work immediately on your brain and on your body, right? He's going to start manufacturing some facts to prove you're right. He will suggest to you that, geez, this room is too hot, or it's too cold. This event's a waste of your time and money. You're not going to meet anybody interesting here. Why are you here? It's a lousy day, right? In just a few minutes, that ever efficient Mr. Defeat's going to have you believing that it is indeed a lousy day. But if you tell yourself, man, today's an awesome day, so excited, right? Then Mr. Triumph is going to jump into action and start proving you right. Different facts get manufactured. He's going to tell you, this is indeed a great day. You are truly lucky to be alive. You're so lucky to be at this amazing event with these amazing people and their generosity of spirit and people you can network with and do deals. This day is exactly what you needed at this very moment to move yourself even closer to your goals. That's Mr. Triumph. Mr. Defeat's going to convince you that you'll fail. Mr. Triumph will convince you that you'll succeed. And it all starts with the thoughts that you put in your mind. The more attention you pay to each voice, each one of those thought production managers, the stronger it's going to become. What you feed the most grows the most, right? You guys know that. You could just look at me, probably figure that out. But anyway, you may have heard the Napoleon Hill quote, what you think about, you bring about. That was from the book Think and Grow Rich. Well, this is incredibly true with Mr. Defeat and Mr. Triumph. So if you find that Mr. Defeat is taking up too much space in your head and in your little factory in your head, what do? Well, you fire him. You boot him out. He's a terrible manager. Get rid of him, right? You don't need him. You don't want him rolling around in your head telling you can't do it, that you're not up to it and you're going to fail. Instead, you want to give Mr. Triumph 100% of the work in your thought production factory. And when any thought enters your mind, you want to ask Mr. Triumph to go to work for you, and he's going to show you how to succeed. So if you find yourself thinking negatively, just say, Mr. Defeat, you're out of here, and let him float away in a bubble. And say, come on, Triumph, we need you in this room right now. So how do we start to believe in ourselves more if we're not quite where we want to be? You know, my feeling is that most people in this room are probably pretty good at thinking big. You wouldn't be here. But if you want to go further, then what do we do to get ourselves further? All right, another slide. First, you have to think success. Don't think failure. Don't ever let the word failure come in your mind. I'm not going to fail. I'm going to succeed. Think success. Use positive words and belief. Say, I can do it, rather than, I don't think I can do it. Don't say, I can't afford that. Say, how can I afford that? See, it's the same kind of thing. You're just switching it into positive words. Instead of thinking, there is no way I'm smart enough to take that on, think instead, how do I acquire the information and the knowledge I need to do that? How do I do that? And your mind starts working on that problem. Let the thought, I will succeed, dominate your thoughts. Thinking success conditions the mind to create plans that produce success. If you think failure, it's the exact opposite. You're putting the brakes on. Remind yourself regularly that you are better than you think you are. You're better than you think you are. Success is not a superpower. I want to say that again. Success is not a superpower. It does not take superior intellect, a bigger bank account, or more luck. Successful people are just ordinary people like you guys and me who have developed a belief in themselves and what they do. So never sell yourself short. And if you find yourself putting self-limiting beliefs in your mind, banish them. Say, go on vacation with Mr. Defeat. You're not welcome here. When you find yourself talking negatively to yourself, ask yourself this: would I talk that way to a friend? Would I literally, those words that I just said about myself in my brain, would I ever say that about my friend Chris or Wendy or Patty or any of my other friends in this room? Of course not, because I believe in them. Why am I not believing in myself as much as I'm believing in my friends? Most of us would never talk to our friends that way. And if we heard someone else talk about our friends that way, man, we'd jump up and defend them and say, you can't say that about my friend. That's ridiculous. But we don't do that to ourselves. We play those negative thoughts. So why is it so easy to put ourselves down for the same things that we admire in others? So I tell this to my kids all the time because my kids are wonderful and I'm proud of them, but they have anxiety about things just like normal people. And they'll call me, well, I don't think I can do this, or I'm this, or I'm that. And I'm like, so I said to Chad recently, my middle son, Chad, would you say that to your best friend? No, Mom, of course I would never say that to my friend. That would be ridiculous. I said, well, then why are you saying it to yourself? Right? Why do you say it to yourself? All right. Next thing is believe big. You have to believe big because the size of your success is determined by the size of your belief. If you think little goals, you can expect little achievements. If you think big goals, you can win big success. So think big. And in this age of social media, please be careful not to compare your backstory to someone else's highlight reel. How many of you do that? Look at everybody else's life looks freaking golden on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. I look at, oh my gosh, look at her in some fancy city drinking wine. She's so perfect. Looks like Dubai, that's what I think, but I've never been there. Anyway, she looks perfect. She looks so happy. My life's not like that. My life's not like that. I'm unloading the dishwasher. What am I doing here? The laundry's in 3 piles. The to be washed, the washed but not yet folded, the folded and the not yet put away. I'm not in Dubai. So you can't think like that because you guys realize this if you stop to think about it, that nobody's going to put their horrible life on Facebook. They only want you to say, look how good I am. I'm so smart. I'm so rich, right? Whatever. I eat the best food in the country. Look at my breakfast. Anyway, so don't think about your backstory compared to their highlight reel. Realize that that's not real, right? And I wanted to tell you about one other thing that I learned about actually in law school, but I did not know the name of it. It's called imposter syndrome. How many of you have heard of imposter syndrome? I can tell you have. Yeah? So imposter syndrome is a well-documented psychological phenomenon in which people think somehow that despite all the evidence to the contrary, that they're not as good as others think they are. Right? They're not as good. I'm an imposter. Man, I'm pulling the wool over their eyes. I don't know why Jim asked me to be the keynote speaker up here because I really suck at this and somehow he doesn't see it. I don't get it. He doesn't see it. That's an imposter syndrome and I struggle hard with that. When I was in law school, I decided my first year and I was petrified, but I said, I'm going through law school. I need to take trial advocacy where you actually prepare for a trial and you present a trial as a lawyer in front of a real judge. Let me tell you, as soon as the first class, when they told us what we were going to have to do, I went to the bathroom and threw up. I was terrified. I was 25 years old and absolutely terrified. Well, semester goes by, and when I'm terrified, I prepare like crazy. So I get in that trial, and I kicked ass. Sorry to curse, but I can just tell you that I did. I didn't believe it, but looking back on it, I did. And at the end, the judge, who's a real judge, asked the 4 student lawyers, defense lawyers, plaintiffs lawyers, it was a criminal trial, hey, do you want to do plaintiffs or defense work? And he got to me last and I said, I'm not going to be a litigator. I'm not going to be a litigator. I'm going to be a tax attorney. He's like, approach the bench. I'm like, so I was like terrified again. I was finally thinking this was over and I get called to the bench and there's a whole audience full of people, my professors, the classmates, everybody, my husband at the time, and I'm like, oh, this is awful. So I go up there and he says, I've been judging these student trials for 35 years, and you are far and away the best student litigator I've ever seen in my life, and you're telling me you don't want to be a litigator? And he was so mad at me. And I was like, no, sir, I'm not. No, Your Honor, I'm going to be a tax attorney. And he was so mad. Anyway, so my professor, not my professor, but yes, it was my professor. She was doing an advanced trial advocacy where the student litigators would travel the country in competition. And she begged me to be in it. And I'm like, you've got me confused with someone else. So I said no. I turned down that opportunity because I thought I was an imposter. Anyway, and I did end up doing some trials as a lawyer, pro bono trials, and basically they all just told me I talked too fast. But anyway, it was all good. So Don't let yourself fall victim to imposter syndrome. Recognize it when you see it, and just realize that you are as good as others think you are, and it is just your mind playing tricks on you if you think otherwise. That's not real. All right. So all this sounds really good, right? I hope so anyway, because I'm